Everybody, it is Cinnamon Cooney, your Art Sherpa, coming to you today for the final day of the 13 days of Halloween step-by-step acrylic painting lessons. We're going to be painting an abstract. It's a Halloween abstract painting and demo. So it should be a really fun lesson today. It's kind of free form from our imagination. We're going to talk a lot about how we design abstracts and the way that we put them together, and just a little bit about the concepts of abstracts. On the mic is my husband, John. He helps me do that by making sure we can go live, even when our stream key completely collapses before the show. John's mic is broken today, and so he's not going to have any mic. He will be reading the questions and comments if anybody finds this stream. I won't be able to see that because my iPad, for some reason, is offline. So the weird technological gremlins that hit us right before the show were pretty significant. Do you see anyone who's finding the chat, sir?
Sharing it on.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we still have the focus card here. A little bit of how you understand how we even find that information. I have some colors out to begin with. And we're going to be doing this as an abstract. I will show you the pumpkin technique with the pouncers in this abstract, as was in your newsletter. But I thought this would be a lot more fun. And I'm going to start out with a base color. So the first thing when I'm doing an abstract is I'm thinking about what kind of colors and lines and textures will give me that emotional resonance with whatever my inspiration is. This time our inspiration is Halloween. So a good place to start is the colors that you would traditionally see in any Halloween art. And I have decided to do a light purple background. So I'm going to take a brush. This is just a nice big brush. And I'm going to get it wet, wet, wet. Make sure I've got all the previous pigment out of it because we don't need that to darken. And, let's make sure we put a wish or intention on there. So, a happy holidays for everyone. Safe and healthy.
Oh, my. Lots of folks showing up. Hello, everybody.
Hey, everyone. It's a totally different live. You may not be able to hear John. His mic broke right before the show. So I'm going to lay in some white into this because I don't want too dark of a purple background. I want it to be distinctly Halloween, but I also want to make sure that it's got a nice color story to it. So I'm going to paint the whole background with this purple.
Everybody fine.
They're finding us. Excellent. So direct your questions at John. If you want to have your questions answered during a live show, be sure to put them in caps. It makes it easier for us to see. Okay, John's going to work on the other device.
Why?
It's okay. So I'm just coming here and making sure that I've got a nice purple backdrop to start. Decisions that I can make at this stage is, do I want this first layer to be the field or construct in which that my painting is going to go, or do I want it to be just one of many, many, many layers in my abstract that I pull together for this piece? And I feel like I want a couple of layers because I want to do kind of a diffused background on it. So I'm going to dry this right now. You dry this at home. So this was titanium white and my purple. I have here my medium Azo yellow, but you could use Hansa yellow or Cad yellow medium. And my primary red, you could use Napthol Red or primary red. And I have my Phthalo green. Just use any green you have.
So, guys, I don't know if you can hear me, but my microphone is broken. So I kind of have to yell into it for you to even be able to hear me. It's all messed up. I'm going to see if I can fix it while we're away. But it's acting mighty weird. Super weird. Annoyingly weird. So I got to fix it. I don't know why it's doing. Don't use heat. I don't know if you can hear me. Got to get the message out.
To my purple friends. Back into it. And I'm going to get a second coat of that going on here because I want a nice deep kind of blended and diffused background.
They say I'm a haunting. I have to pull my mic real close to my mouth
You're
and cover it.
my co-host is haunting the show.
Oh, I can be here. Ooh.
It's just too close to home, y'all. You don't even know.
I got it. But the mic really is messed up here, so I don't know what's wrong with it. We're going to figure it out.
Yeah, it was a lot of weird stuff that broke.
Everything. We had to rebuild the stream key. It was crazy that's going on right now. I'm like, I don't understand it. Our internal servers went out.
Oh my goodness. I'm brushing some light down in this corner, and I'm going to kind of blend that out. I want some just different values kind of working into this. I'm changing to a curved brushstroke. So in my abstract, there is the value, the color, and the brushstroke, the way I'm making marks. And those kind of determine the flow and feel of any of these paintings. Remember, with an abstract, you are painting the idea of something, the way a thing feels, the essence of it, not so much the objective representation of it. So I think that's why there's not a lot of Halloween abstracts out there. That's, believe it or not, on a topic like Halloween, that's more challenging to get into than you might think. But I like this basic construct of sort of a free-form, loosey-goosey background. It will let me really kind of get through some things. I'm going to rinse out my brush fairly well. I've got some yellow and green out there. I may want to add blue. Blue doesn't really come up too much in Halloween, but it can in the night skies. I definitely want to add some magenta because that certainly impacts things. And of course, black, right? We'll definitely want to add some black to our palette. You know, as we go forward, I'm going to make sure that this is somewhat dry. We'll dry this background because I don't think the next part I'm going to work is wet into wet.
All right, so my mic is acting weird. I don't know what's going on. So thank you guys for all coming and joining us on this unusual 13th day of Halloween. We shall be doing things of abstract nature. I don't know what to say about that, but it will be abstract, and there will be pumpkins and ghosts and things that you get painted together. While I poke around at the inside of my machine, trying to figure out why my microphone doesn't work.
Your microphone's still not working?
Nope. Well, it's sort of.
So we have a purple background. We're done. That's good. No, I'm just kidding. You might want to do some more with this. So other colors we can think about in abstracts are orange, right? Like for a Halloween abstract, that kind of crazy neon green. Of course, we've got black. You know, so we've got the basic colors. We also have, you know, objects that we think of for Halloween, like bats and moons and claws and creepy branches. So you can kind of think about how those lines are. I think I'm going to get right into it and start with something kind of shocking. I'm going to take my number 8 cat's tongue, but you could just use whatever brush you have. And I'm going to load some black onto it. And I think I'm going to start right here. And just make a little mark. Sometimes in my abstract, I find it's just good to make a bit of a mark. And maybe make another little mark. And then bring that around here. And watch for blue paint that just got on my... And then I'm done now. But not quite. I'm going to go ahead and kind of curve that out. So a lot of times when I'm trying to find an abstract, and it's really challenging to talk and abstract at the same time, just so you know.
Why is that?
I think it's because you're so deeply into your creative center that it is hard to tap into the part of your brain that maybe exists in that sort of free form imaginative consciousness. And we all have one of those, whether we feel like we do or not. These are some interesting organic kind of shapes that I'm definitely liking. And I like to bring lines. I'm going to take some little cross hatches, kind of creating a little texture. I'm just on the edge. On the edge. Those are very sharp, and they have kind of an essence to them, I feel.
Essence.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of like Halloween shapes and everything that I've seen and how, you know, certain constructs of stuff can end up being conceptually just part of how we feel about stuff. Whenever you do anything that's objectively anything, though, understand that that's a dangerous space to kind of be in, simply because people then will start to look for your intended subject.
Yeah.
So sometimes, like as an abstract artist, you want to back out of anything objective, because as you put objects into it, as you think of them as anchors or weights, you've now skewed the whole piece to your direction, to your intent.
Okay.
So sometimes in abstract, you know, people want to stay away from that. I wanted to get into that because I feel like this is a shape that I think of during abstracts. And so it works, you know, maybe for me a little bit.
All right. Well, I think I may have somewhat fixed my mic. It's
Did
a little
you?
better. It's a little better. It's
Somewhat
something.
fixed it?
Somewhat. It's now no longer me shouting into the microphone to make anything hear. Oh yeah.
Going to just make some shapes and
I like that.
spaces that feel very Halloween to me.
Oh.
Right? Those are kind of constructs and shapes that have that sense of being potentially spooky, right? Even these curvilinear lines have like that sort of kind of spooky flowing, smoky flow.
I'm going to give an art high five to Abdurrahman, who did an animated kind of painting of a boy zombie and affecting a ghost for Halloween. Congratulations on that.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
Good job using art to express yourself.
Well, doing, sort of accomplishing any goal, especially when you set something else seasonally, is a big deal because it's hard to get a plan, get something together, get it done. So, it's worth noting that accomplishing and finishing a project is a worthwhile thing.
I think I will switch from this black for a little while. We're going to work here because that's a good start. So I will take some white, maybe some blue together.
Michelle says that her daughter, the two of them, will be painting this Friday.
Oh, I am so glad you guys are painting this Friday. I'll be sure to I'm glad you guys are doing it. I think abstract is really fun. My mom used to take me to the museum to look at abstracts. And when I was a kid, I wasn't sure what I thought of them. But as I have gotten older, the idea that there's a visual communication that is as free-flowing as that has become more engaging. I am adding blue into this. Now, notice that the contrast, and if you get into this, so there's things that create elements in our piece where, if we can look at it overhead, babe.
Sorry.
So you can see that right now, just having that there, what does that create? That creates an anchor and weight there, doesn't it? We've added this type of color. And so when you do that, you will want to be aware that could be impactful in that way. Now I'm going to go ahead and curve a little bit of blue line here. And then coming along here, I'm going to flow along a little bit on the outside. Notice that that starts to make a balance between these objects by pulling colors through. I'm just saying, we are absolutely doing like this Halloween abstract, and you know, I'm like almost like kind of annoyed like the pouncers will kind of mess it up, but we'll see how it goes. I'm going to take a little bit of.
I cleaned your pouncers.
No. I mean, like design wise, I'm wondering how the pouncers will impact what I've got going on.
I thought you were saying I don't have pouncers.
I'm going to take some orange here. This will be an important space in the piece because orange is huge in Halloween, right? That purple orange combo. We definitely will be thinking that out.
So this is a multi-hued specter that is...
See, you're trying to anchor it, right?
emerging from the graveyard. You can tell by the graveyard fence. And there's a tree with a branch above it.
Thinking about something. There's definitely something there.
So that's just
something has happened.
That's just my story.
That's his story that he's telling, and he's sticking to it.
That's right.
Now I'm going to take a little of my yellow and a little bit of my red, and I'm going to make some orange here. This will be for my pouncers. And I can also use any of the extra on my brush to make sure that this is a nice solid orange color that covers super well. I'm going to take, I think, the mid-size pouncer that I have. And go ahead and load. You'll notice that I've got a little bit of all three.
Well, so hold on. Wait.
So I'm going to pounce.
Hold on. Let me get over there. I want to make sure they can see the pounce. All right, go ahead.
I'm going to pounce here.
Wait. Hold on.
We must see into here.
We want to see the nature of the pounce.
I hear you. Get some more red into that pounce, some more red and yellow so they mix on the surface. And I need a balancing size, so I'm going to get one of my smaller pouncers. Load it up.
I'm going to have to go close the door.
I'm going to load a little more up. Oh, actually, I really dig these now. That's pretty cool. I'm kind of into that. I will have to give John this to rinse them out. But that is, I like that set of dots. So see, we're getting here already. We've got some essence of Halloween. We've got these dots, which I think, can you put these in a water bucket, John? So that they don't do it. Can you? I don't know. And I'm going to... while you're at it.
Oh, wait, no, you can't do that while I'm away.
I will sit there. So, what am I thinking right now?
Okay, so here's what's going to happen. You dry the thing. I'll talk to them, and then we'll go do our other thing. Okay, so don't forget, if this is your first time here, and like you want to get notified, especially when we do these sort of semi-unannounced live things, it's important to click the subscribe button down below, and then click on the bell and click all, and that'll make sure that you get an email notification. Now, we often try to get our gnomes, which is our text messaging system, to send out those notifications, but that's how you get those notifications. You text the Art Sherpa to 33222. But right now our gnomes are out of stock, so we'll be sending more gnomes out, meaning we don't have enough text messages for October, and we burned through them before today. So if you want to get noticed, if you want to get notified, be sure to click subscribe and all, just so that we can always get those out there. Okay, there you go.
I'm just looking at what I've got.
Okay.
So there's a lot of this now, so you like kind of take it in because you want to take it to a very specific place, but you won't want to go so far, right, that it's just a visual mess. Because the things that we're thinking about are still relevant, whether it's in an objective landscape painting or whether it's in an abstract painting, as we think about object relationship, the way all of these objects, marks that I put on the canvas, speak to each other, right? The way this line informs the eye to come here and the way these objects kind of pull you through the canvas. The way the color speaks to what's next to it and the feeling that that emotes in creating lines or space in which, you know, perhaps you feel that spirit of Halloween without as objectively creating Halloween. That's the space. And so it's pretty good here. We're getting it like a direction. I'm thinking like some green and like some really intense greens should be going on somewhere in here. And I'm also feeling like some black and white striping would be powerful. So it's like trying to decide, do I want to go black and white stripe here? And where do I want to put that? Because wherever I put the high contrast, that is very focal in the piece. So I have to think about that super specifically to everything that we have going on. I have to say I'm actually pretty happy with the circles, just overall. And I don't want to put too many more objective things in here, like I could throw in bats or try to layer things that feel Halloween-ish, and that could be abstracted. We could layer that in, you know, and we could go with obvious stuff like drips or dripping blood or those kinds of things could be there. So I'm going to go forward, and I think I'm going to start with that first instinct. So I am thinning my white paint, and I've got my number 12 round. And what I'm trying to do is improve the flow of my paint. And I'm going to come here and I'm going to make stripes. Now, the white stripes will come inside here. And then I'll go ahead and just kind of go all around this. I'm going to go around that object with a white line. Let the space become separate between the two. So interesting things as you're painting, as you notice, is I put that white line over this as this red went over that. It put this object, that dot, in front of this other swirl. Even though we're painting abstractly, the placement of things still is happening. What feels far away and what feels close.
I have a... well, we'll see.
You have a what?
An idea.
You has an idea?
Let's see if this idea is workable for you.
Oh,
Okay.
I have an off topic to ask Art Sherpa and John. Okay.
Oh, did you? I didn't.
I saw something. I have an off topic thing, but I don't know what the off topic question was because you scrolled ahead.
Away. I don't know where it went either.
The mods can tell you what the off topic question is.
What it was, guys, is that I was just figuring out how to show Cinnamon where the chat was because I found it, and then as soon as I scrolled over here, I hit. Oh, that was Katie Kate, but she didn't actually ask the question yet.
Okay, I'm going to take a little of my white.
Okay, hold on. So I gotta keep control.
And I'm going to make dashes that are like spots, and we're going to do a thing here. This is called implied texture and implied line. So the objects in relationship to each other are going to create a texture and a line, but it's not an actual texture or a line. It's implied by the mark. It's like I started a rumor. And as I come forward making these little marks, I can make little decisions about if they get bigger, if they get smaller, how the marks process to the objects that they are around. These marks will create weight, again, visually in the space. See how it creates an energy back up into that area with the object that we think of as the moon and tree. We think of these things, but they are not these things. But maybe they're more these things because of that. So just creating that little space there. And maybe making a bigger version of those marks here. Every mark has an impact. This is a very abstract painting of the Halloween. I'm going to get back into my black. I'm going to kind of create a high contrast space here.
There we go. That's better.
Just on the toe of the brush, we're just filling that in. Now, everything about how we place this into our canvas impacts how it reads. So if I freehand this, the looseness of the freehand of it impacts how it looks, versus if I were to tape this out with very crisp lines, that would also give you a very different feeling about what it is. In abstract, every mark counts. Every mark. Every mark matters. Every mark you make tells that story. Off to take my mom to the podiatrist. We'll watch this later. I hope your mom has a good visit at the podiatrist, Lisa Marie. And Dorothy Redmaker. I thought my phone and TV were haunted. It looks like a Z-Tech Halloween on a cold night.
Yeah. So the butcher's wife's no gnomes today? No. The gnomes, so we get an allotment of gnomes every month.
We used our gnomes.
We used our gnomes, and then extra gnomes
are like so much money.
So much.
Even with all the generosity of Super Chat and the patronage, there's no extra gnome money.
And so here's the other thing is that we're sort of legacied into a gnome program that if we changed out of our current gnome program, we might not be able to afford the next
gnome program.
So we're until we get our new website up and down, when we'll have a new gnome interface, then things will be easier on the gnome, community, so to speak.
It's an interesting mark there. Now, I may put out a little of my brown. I don't have to, but it can be nice for the weird thing that I'm going to do here. Because again, we're trying to do this kind of like strange Halloween, like pumpkin, weird abstract. So I'm loading up with some darker orange on my brush. And you can see that I'm getting the darker orange by mixing more red into it. And I'm going to come here and start to paint a more pumpkinish little guy. Improve my flow. Creating those little downward ripples that might happen on a pumpkin.
I'm going to get some of that shading. Hold on. It was just. There you go.
We're just starting that story, right?
Yeah.
Just starting some of that story. Maybe this one up here.
All right, hold on. Oh.
Not everyone.
Oh, there you
Just these 4 or 3 in relationship to each other. And I can't help it, but I feel like I'm just rinsing out to get some black because I see something and I've been feeling the whole time I want this.
Ah.
There we go. That's the start of something there, isn't it? So when I want a lighter orange on here, I just mix more yellow. And I can kind of counterbalance some of those little pumpkin bubbles. You know, doing that, I just play the dark against that brighter orange. Kind of creating that feeling of a pumpkin. Like you do. Now, interestingly enough, we're going to let these dry for a second, and I'm going to go ahead and get a little of my brown and a little of my black. And create this sense of wandering little stems. We have that nice little I'm sorry, I'm just making sure that my little ripples look ribby.
I was reading chat, so I was.
It's okay. Making sure my little ripples look ribby. Now, I feel like those spines and a couple other spots need to have some bright green. So I'm going to take this yellow and my green, and I'm going to make that sort of radioactive green we all like so much. White into it so we can really see it. There we go. Radioactive. Radioactive green. Because that's a Halloween color, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
You want to make sure that when you're doing something that's, you know, free form and expressive like this, that you're keeping in mind what are the colors that you expect to see. Now, I do feel strongly that I don't want to just have that color in one spot. So I'm going to make these little marks through there. Making some of those marks around as well. This is getting like really Halloween abstract,
That's
isn't
very cool.
it? Okay. Definitely Beetlejuice, says Michael Anderson. I love it. And Heather Campbell's like, slime green. All right. So now we're going to take some of that slime, that green, right? And we're going to also put it in this eye. In the center of that eye. You definitely want that there. And let's make sure we've got some whites of the eyes here too. Put my black line in again if I need to. All right, now we've got these little pumpkins. And then you can do little jack-o'-lantern faces on there, right? Or you can leave them as just pumpkins. I'm going to go ahead and jack-o'-lantern them up because, like, why not push it too far?
So thank you guys all for joining us on this wonderful 13th day of Halloween. And, you know, we're on the way to Halloween, and this is the sort of first few days as we get warmed up in the season and ready for all of the festive stuff. So, you know, thank you guys for spending it with us, and we appreciate it.
I'm going to take one of my detail brushes and agree with John. I do appreciate it. I don't know what y'all think of this. It's a weird journey today. You have to let me know. What do you think of this weird abstract? I'm going to kind of fix the lines that I had on my eye using my detail brush.
Your little bobbles are... Oh,
there it is.
Your antenna bobble was in my eye.
All right. So how is that looking? I think pretty good. Cool. Let's put in some pumpkin faces, shall we?
We shall.
So now the issue about these pumpkin faces are that it is going to anchor, right? All these objects in some way anchor to something else, right? So as long as you're aware that everything that you add that people can, you know, object recognize will have that impact, you're okay. You just want to know that that's what's going to happen. Just painting in that jack-o'-lantern. The eye has it, says Deborah Pivot. You know, that's pretty good. Halloween Picasso, says Deja. You know, but yeah, it is, right? It is a bit of us doing our Halloween Picasso. Making that zigzag mouth. There's just really like, there's no right or wrong to this, right? when a piece will start to feel off is when your design, when your contrast, when your line, when your balance goes off on the piece. That's when it'll feel wrong. But it won't feel wrong in the same way as when you're painting a landscape and you painted the tree in such a way as that is to not be recognizable as a tree. I think I'm going to do these as round eyes. Right. So it's just about finding that space that makes you happy mentally within the piece. Finding the harmony of objects, right? And then you just add things and symbolism and stuff that, is mattering to you. I'm going to go ahead and come around this object with a black line.
Chris says it's a Sherpasso.
Sherpasso. We're getting deep. Sherpasso. Chris Clark says, hi, Cinnamon. Hi, John. Hi, mods. Everyone watching. It's Val, and my son is watching from Gainesville, Florida. Hi, Val and son. How are you guys doing in Gainesville, Florida? Hopefully it is a good day today. So these lines they definitely have anchor, right? They definitely have purchase. And I'm not trying to make eyeballs. That's something I've got to think about. I'm not at all trying to make eyeballs, but I am trying to make like these interesting little dot spaces. So we'll see how I do. There we go. It worked. Sometimes you have an idea in your head and you're like, I don't know if this is going to work the way that I want it to, but then it does. And then you're like, oh, okay. Now this is going to get it into that Tim Burton-y space, right?
Oh, I like it.
I am liking it too. I am super liking it too. I'm going to make 2 upward points. And then I'm going to do 2 bat wings. Comes out. First is a little curl like this. And then a counter curl like that.
Maybe if you tilt your little there we go. The little hairy things, your antenna are occasionally getting down and in there.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
And a little bit of a bat in here.
You've done a Corpse Bride tutorial, right?
Yes, I have. And this has a bit of that feel as well. A little bit of that Corpse Bride feel, I'm sure. There we go. Just adding it up. Because again, even if it's an abstract, if you're kind of picking a definitively easy to know subject, say like Halloween, you do want people to know that it's themed off of that. You don't want to be so obscure that they can't in any way tell. So I'm just continuing to shade through here, into that first pocket. You can let the outer wing have the line kind of shading, but for the inner wing, you definitely want to have that there. And then you've got to decide, I've got this pretty distinctive shape. You have to make that decision, like, do I want to put this shape anywhere else in the piece, like to balance it out. You know, I'm inclined to often say, yeah, that would be a good idea, but change up the scale so the shape is repeated, but the differences are represented.
Mm-hmm.
So like what I mean by that is I'll make another one of these, but I'll do it small. So we're like, okay, it's the same, but it's super different.
Yeah.
Just like when we're doing clouds, we don't necessarily want to clone those shapes, right? We want to change those shapes up. And you can add all kinds of things to a painting like this. You could add witches' hats. You could keep layering things that were, you know, really kind of represented the holiday to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just painting little symbolic bats. What we're doing. Little symbolic bats. But again, it's a very distinctive shape. So is kind of an anchor. What happens if you have too many anchors? You don't get any emotion.
Ah.
Right? So the trick in your abstracts is to take a person on a journey with you, you know, that they can relate to, that they can like, but also for you to leave enough room for them to be able to have motion in the painting, to have an experience in the painting outside of you, not just because of you. You know, when we put too many anchors in the piece, we leave no room for the viewer to find themselves. No reason not to do a good job on the eye.
Yeah.
All right. Chris Clark, it's a bittersweet day, last day of Sherpaween. We really enjoy our daily dose of cinnamon and John, but at least we still get videos on the weekends. Yeah, we'll be back to our regular kind of like schedule and things, you know, as soon as like it gets right back on time. I feel like I want this to be a little different than what it is. So visually, it wasn't making me happy. Whenever anything isn't visually making me happy, I go through and I fix it. My bobbleheads emphatically say, I fix it. So I'm looking at this structure here going, I don't really necessarily love everything that it's got going on. So those lines create that extra, that extra out. You know, that is pretty good. Feel good, guys.
Yeah.
It's a nice balanced piece.
I kind of like it.
I think, you know, we can go further into a piece like this, but I feel like this is a good place for it overall. And the reason this is striking me as a stopping place, because I know you guys are going like, how do you know when to stop? So there is a thing that happens with abstracts, and this is a very unusual process for abstract painting.
Subjective? Is it subjective?
Well, it is very subjective, but also when like, you know, if you're painting a landscape, you have a beginning and an end kind of in that subject for you, right? Like at the very minimum, all the objects get painted and you know you're done. In abstract, you don't have such an easy beginning and stopping point per se. So you have to find that space in the painting when you're happy, when you feel it's done, when you feel like everything is where it should be. And to get there, normally what you would do is you would get it to a place where you feel quiet on the inside. You're like, yeah, that's good. Like that has the thing. Then you put it on an easel and just stare at it. If the piece stays quiet, you're good. You have found your finishing place. if the place continues to speak to you, you may have more you need to say to it and kind of continue painting. So we'll have, will there be a watercolor Wednesday tomorrow? Do we need a well-deserved day off? Callie, I am doing a watercolor Wednesday tomorrow. I am not going to, thank you very much. I do believe I have a well-deserved day off, but I'm not going to. I have it in the schedule. My bubbles are coming off. Okay, I'm just going to debobble. They're just not having a moment. They're doing it in my hair. So I want you guys to think about that, you know, when you're doing the painting, you know, get it along, you know, with me to this point. But you may be like, oh man, there needs to be like a black dot in the center of all of these, which now I'm kind of feeling like there needs to be.
You can do it.
Yeah, there needs to be. So that's what happens. Is you think you're done, and then you're looking, and the piece doesn't stop speaking to you. So then you're like, man.
And sometimes I've seen you like walk away from them for hours or days, then come back to them.
It is a good idea, though, to walk away from your abstracts. It's a good idea to have several going at any given time. And then you come there. Sometimes people think, and I think it's because of the performance abstract painting that we see on YouTube, which is more of a performance piece, right? Not as much of necessarily indicative of how we relate to our paintings, where it just seems like abstract's the easiest to do, right? Like you just come in, you paint, and it's over in 8 minutes. That's true and not true. For you generally, oh, see, I really like that.
Oh, yeah.
I needed that. Because otherwise those are just not, they weren't having the feel that I wanted them to have. I'm going to have to turn this upside down.
Go ahead.
So in your abstract painting, make time and space. Oh, wow. I got a blue dot there.
Did you?
Uh-huh. It's, look. This is, look. Darn it. I either have to get rid of it or do something about it.
I like it.
Well, it happened. And so now I have to find a way to process that it happened. So sometimes you're painting and you get a big blue smudge.
Big blue smudge. Oh, and then it makes you add some other things.
Let's take it off or add more.
Yeah. I get it. I like it.
So just don't point out to everybody that you had a big blue smudge.
And
they will never know.
It was a feature.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes as an artist, you got to be like, it's a feature, not a fault. You're just going along in your painting and some hot mess like this happens and you're like, and that's really because of the cramped up space I'm in here, not because of something that would happen to you, but it's more of the difficulty of my painting space. Not being as functional for what I'm doing as I need to make it. I need to actually probably sit down in the space and examine moments like these where I get big blue globs of paint all over my arm and figure out what I've got to do in relationship to that. But we all have moments where big blue globs get on our paintings, right?
Yeah.
We do. We all have those moments, and knowing what to do about those in life and on the canvas is pretty helpful. Implied line and texture.
Yep. You have brought balance to the abstract.
Well, we always are, aren't we? Bringing balance to the abstract.
That's very interesting.
And then we look at it silently.
Well, it's an abstract. What are you supposed to do? Just it gives you contemplation. And that's what abstracts do.
So when you're doing an abstract, if you look at it and you feel an area is bare, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let it sit and, oh, thank you, Missy Lulu. Let it sit and look at it and see, because in life, in a landscape, I would have areas where I wouldn't have necessarily a lot of objects. And it's just a good idea to spend some time with it and visualize adding more line or more texture or more space. I want my primary focus of the piece to be right here. So I have the most contrast and kind of color experiences going on here. And everything kind of takes me around into a circle that gets me to the eye. Trying to keep everybody on the surface in the piece, spending time with me.
Mm-hmm.
You can also, look at your pieces sideways, look at them upside down, and kind of examine them from different. And this is what I mean by an anchor. So why are the faces an anchor? Because I can't just hang the piece upside down now. I have an orientation. Because of the faces, I've created an orientation of the painting. I've created a space in which you, the viewer, knows something. So it's just, that's not a wrong thing to do. You may want to do that as when you're doing abstract, because I'm trying to say this is an abstract about Halloween. So having objects that are just definitively that are helpful. But you may, in your process, go, that isn't what I need in my piece. So those are things to think about. And we will continue to abstract, my friends. We're going to start doing some more abstract lessons. I'm going to sign over here. I feel like this was actually a really good, weird talk in class. I'm going to have John scan this so I can put this up on a thumbnail so other people who didn't even know anything was going on today at least know what the piece was about. And I'll be sure to send an updated list in the next newsletter of every painting that we did for the 13 days of Halloween as they were finished out, because I think we added Slimer. We added a Slimer, and we added this, and we added that imagination piece. So we had 3 surprise pieces that happened in the 13 days of Halloween, this being one of them. So the unexpected creepy window. Creepy happens sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
This crazy wild Halloween abstract, and then of course Slimer. So I'll definitely be sure to get those out to you. I'll see anyone who's doing the watercolors with me. Come by Watercolor Wednesday on Facebook at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be live. And I don't know that we have any text, so you've just got to know that that's there if you want to come by and see that. And then we will be doing our, I think we've got a really great fall weekend. Like we've got a really great fall tree Friday night. And we have a really gorgeous fall round landscape on Saturday that I expect to be a gorgeous 3-hoot. Yeah. So we'll be back into the fall and landscapes, and then palette knife painting. Definitely get the palette knives. I've linked in the description of the upcoming palette knife paintings. If you want to have the metal knives I'm using, they're $8. And so that's not too bad. Or if you already have the Art Sherpa plastic knives, you can do those as well. Be good to yourselves. It's a crazy world out there, and you got to take time for self-care. Be good to each other because everybody else is going through it too. And I want to see you at an easel really soon. Bye-bye.